Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
All right. Hey. All right. I am so excited with this show because you hear that sometimes Pam goes solo or sometimes she brings her media friends. So today is one of those days where I'm bringing Bria J. Brown, my media friend. And she is, not only is she in the media, but she has her own brand. So that we'll kind of split it into half, right? She does a little bit of both. But let me just read you the official bio about Bria J. Brown. She is a CBS 62, CW50 digital producer shaping the stories of Detroit. Her passion for authentic storytelling has led her to found Bria Brown Enterprises, a portfolio of businesses, including lifestyle brand and TV show Bria Brown Live, and also EPKX BBE. I guess you say EPK by BBE, and an electronic press kit service. So I want her to talk about that. And also BBE Gives Back Foundation and Bria Brown merch. Bria also serves as the vice president of print for the Detroit chapter of NABJ, which is the National Association of Black Journalists, which is how we really came to know each other and that sort of thing more and more through NABJ. And every week I always say people should join NABJ, even if you're not a journalist. So welcome, Bria. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you know your brand, Bria Brown Live. I just love what that is. So explain Bria Brown Live and how that all came about.
Yeah, so it started out in college, to be completely honest with you. I just wanted to pretty much create my own lane, and I knew in order to do that, I had to kind of stand out. And at first, it started as, Forever B. That's what people knew me by, was my Twitter name on social media at the time around campus. So then that evolved into Bria Brown Live, and that was just basically showcasing my life, my aspirations, my journey, all in a live stance. So yeah, that's how it started. And then that evolved into Bria Brown Enterprises, which is, again, like you said, a portfolio of businesses where I produce electronic press kits for people. I'm also in the process of starting to do websites, website development, social media marketing, social media consulting, strategy, all of that, because I see it every day. So why not help those, and especially help, our community do that and give back to them as well. So yeah, that's how it started out.
I love it. I love it. So just so that you know, Bria is very driven. She is very passionate about a lot of things. She's passionate about Detroit. She's a Detroit storyteller. And one of the things about Bria, just let you tell a little bit about how driven you are, because the communications field is very competitive. Not everyone graduates from college and gets a job in media. I mean, sometimes it takes years. Sometimes people never really get in media. They just say, oh, forget it. I'm just going to get a corporate job. But Bria, explain to them your journey into your first, I guess you say your first couple of media jobs, and the sacrifice that you made, really the sacrifice that you made in order to do those things.
Yeah, so I started in college. I went to Oakland University, go Grizzlies. And I started let's start all the way back. I'll give you a brief synopsis of that one.
Okay.
In high school, I was the first high school student to intern at WXYZ Channel 7. And that kind of gave me my first foot into the media world, into the news business and all of that. And I was thrilled. I was excited. Like you said, I was driven. I was hungry. Every year after that in college, I decided to get an internship in my field. So the first one was at the University Communication and Marketing at Oakland University. There I dealt with a lot of things, doing press releases, helping with the website development, as far as the copy editing for the website. And because of that internship, my old boss, I guess you could say, recommended me for my internship at the American Heart Association under the communications director. So there I was able to see kind of like the other side with PR and putting on events for the American Heart Association. That's when Twitter was kind of getting the buzz. So starting, what do they even call them now? Starting like chats on Twitter, like how we're having this live, Twitter chats, and how we're having this live conversation. You would have a conversation with an expert in whatever field, specifically for stroke and heart health. So I was really driven because I didn't stop. And that led me to actually changing my entire senior year at Oakland University to go online full-time, move to Lansing, get an apartment up there, and do an internship at Home TV.
People know how much you were paid.
I was not paid.
Right.
I was not paid.
I want people to understand that
I was not paid.
Intern in media, typically you're not paid.
No.
Nonprofits, typically maybe they might give you a stipend, but more or less like, nah, not really, because they feel that what you're paying is really gaining that experience. Absolutely. Writing press releases, copy, learning how to use equipment. Go on and explain.
No, you're fine. The internships now, they do pay you, which is a good thing.
Good. Finally.
Most that I know of. Even the internship that we had at CBS, they paid the interns there. So that was a good thing. But I was in school. I had 5 classes, if I'm not mistaken, and I was working almost 40 hours a week at the internship. So it was a lot of sacrifices that went into that. But definitely because of the tribe that I have, I was able to make those sacrifices. So it was a lot, but it was definitely worth it. And then right after that, I was able to get my first job, which was in print. It wasn't the job that I wanted, I will be honest and say that, but it was the job that I needed because it provided me with the foundations and fundamentals of journalism. So after that job, I was there for maybe 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken. And then I leaped out and just went for TV. And I went for a Flint market, which is a big deal, especially when you haven't had any as much broadcast background as I had. However, because I was going into digital, it was okay because that's kind of the next step after print. If you work in print, you can honestly work in digital. And if you work in broadcast, you can work in digital as well. So I got my job in Flint at NBC 25 and Fox 66 as a digital content producer. And then after that, moved on to CBS Detroit and came back home.
Wow. So it's like a full circle. So just so that you know, she is still a person that is relatively young. I guess you would say 30. I say you're under 30.
I'm under 30.
But she started in high school, right? She worked in a major market, working at a major station, ABC affiliate. When she said WXYZ, she was working at ABC affiliate in high school. So she had the print, the journalism. She made the sacrifice. She was still interning when she did the other television internship. She was taking 5 classes and doing all of that, moving to Lansing, which from where she was from Detroit is about 2 hours away. I mean, so when you want something,
you go after it.
Yes, you'll make it happen. You'll make it happen. And so what drives Bria is really the passion to tell stories. So kind of tell us a little bit about the stories that you want to bring to the world, or the stories that you like to reveal, or stories that you have told that have made a difference.
Absolutely. I think one in particular that has changed my life was a story that I did. I traveled to New York. It was one of my internships where I asked them if I could take their equipment with me to New York to do a documentary on the Youth Over Guns March. And this organization marched over the Brooklyn Bridge, basically discussing guns and why, it is not okay for the community just to be okay with guns and youth, and how it's killing, the youth. And it was a life-changing experience, only because there were a lot of mistakes that I made on that trip. But I fully funded it myself. I bought my ticket. I paid for my own hotel. Wow. The only thing that was required of me was that, I made it good enough for it to be aired on television.
Okay.
So this was an internship that I did at the Orion Neighborhood Television. So it kind of intertwined and mingled with home TV as well. I got both of those internships at the same time, but I decided to go to Lansing first. So then I came back home afterward and did that internship. But that story really sparked me because I found out about it through AM Joy on MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
To hear those kids just be so passionate about gun violence and why it's not acceptable and why the youth really need to step up, like this is our time. I felt compelled. I felt that I had to tell that story. So I got in touch with them. I got interviews from the congressmen there. I got interviews from the organizers. It was great. It is still on my website now.
Yes, I saw it on the homepage.
Yeah, it's still on the website now.
.live. Is it?
Yep, BriaBrownEnterprises.com.
Yes, BriaBrownEnterprises.com, because it's down there I saw that down there at the bottom. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that you said that you did the internship and in the Lansing area, but then also in Orion, the Lake area, where you had to learn the equipment, I guess you would say, which is a whole nother thing. So you've got this writing background, the journalism background, all these things too. Mind you have to do under pressure, under deadline, under little supervision. And what do? You Google your way through, you just ask for people for help. I mean, it's just like, this is your equipment. Figure it out.
Even in that instance, I let the interviewers know, like, hey, can you carry my equipment while I'm interviewing you? Like, you won't see it in the shot, but we can't walk across this stage and I'm carrying this backpack and the mic and the camera. You got to help me somehow. So everyone there in New York, they were very sweet. But like you said, like, you have to know the equipment. And that was one of the major mistakes that I did make, was I was moving so fast that I put the microphone into the wrong port in the camera.
So you didn't sound.
So I did not have very good sound. But it worked in some instances because you got the sound from the atmosphere. So you could hear people protesting. And I was close enough to some of the interviewers where I just put like closed caption on the bottom so that you could see what they were saying. So you got to improvise under pressure. It was definitely a learning experience for sure.
Yes. Well, you had good B-roll and you can work with that. Mm-hmm. That just reminds me of a time when I got certified through our cable company to use their equipment and take their equipment out like you did. And so I was doing a workshop on social media and I set it all up and I said, all you guys have to do is just follow me with the camera, whatever. But just like you, I do the right chord for the sound. So the whole thing was shot, but it was just shot as B-roll because all I had to voice over.
Yes. And that was the thing. I had to voice over certain things. And, audio makes or breaks a story. It really does. If you have really bad audio, people are going to cringe and, it'll distract them from what they're really looking, the story that they're trying to hear. So, yeah.
That's true. And I always tell people that people will tolerate bad footage or video pictures, but they do not tolerate bad sound. So
that is very true.
You have to have the sound right because you
can
figure something else out. So those that are listening. So we are live on LinkedIn, Bria, and we see a few people over here. We see Kimberly Porter. Dr. Kimberly Porter is there. She says hello. And then also too, we see some people over at Periscope. We just want to say hello to them. But we are really talking about how to really tell your story and how people can pitch you if you are a speaker or an author. So say Dr. Kimberly Porter, she wants to tell her story to the media. What is the best way or the tools that they need to have in order to pitch you, to send a story idea to you?
Well, first and foremost, you have to do your research. So you must know that the station that I work at it's a different station. It's not your typical ABC or your typical Fox or your typical NBC here in Detroit. So that means we are more community-based. We are more community-led. So you have to understand what my beat is and know what we actually put out for our audience. So how will our audience, what information are they going to gain from you? Why is this story relevant? What is this going to do for the community? If you're pitching me something that is happening in the state, other stations can cover that. And while that's great, I want to understand why you pitched it to me. Why did you want it at CBS? Because here, these are our values. This is what we focus on. So like I said, you have to do your research, make sure that what you are sending to me, I can actually use. Is it different? Is it not the same typical story? I don't want to sound rude when I say this, but some people can get very lazy and pitch you the same thing. As far as like, if you are putting something on social media, are you going to put the same caption under Instagram? Are you going to put the same caption under Facebook, under Twitter? Those are all different media platforms and they all serve different purposes. So you should not put out the same caption that you're going to put, for your picture or your story. Yeah. So that's one thing that I have.
Personalized pitches, and personalized pitches are only going to be personalized. What you said, when you know the person, when you've done the research, when you have followed them on Twitter or looked at what stories they've written, you have a byline by all the content that you produce on your station. So hit the little blue button, look at all the stories you've written and see if what you want to pitch is very similar to the style of what her beat is.
Relationships too, like you said, like I have so many great relationships with people because they've reached out. And if they reach out to my personal email, they will say, hey, I'm not sure if this is the correct email for CBS pitches, but can you provide me that? If this is, here's the information. If it's not, like I said, provide me that information. So yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience for me as well, because I'm used to being at like I said, a typical news station, and our station is a little bit different. So I've kind of had to learn, as well, like the people that are pitching to me also. So,
and speaking of being different as well, so COVID has made things different. So talk about the time where you had to do the story. Well, basically you've got to do it alone. So typically, sometimes you would have some people that will do certain things for you because you've got 2-man crew or 3-man crew, but it's just you. So tell us about how that's been different. And you told me about a story before that you had to do it solo, but you were like on both sides. Oh, and I know what it was. You set it up. You set the camera up in one way and you had to run and do this. And
yeah, I mean, even for this job is different because I'm literally, I don't know if you all can see it, but I'm just behind 2 screens all day. So what has come from that is more emails. So how it looks different in COVID is my attention span is running like this. So if you don't grab my attention super quick, I'm not going to catch it. You know what I mean? Like you have to make sure that in your subject line, you're saying you're saying like media inquiry, community-based story, local organization gives back to kids for holidays, something like that. I'm literally thinking off of the top of my head.
But like you said, you're taking a nanosecond scroll through your email and what's going to make your attention first. And so just so that people know, in order to get out there, get known, you're pitching the media, do not make long pitches.
No,
not make long pitches. If it looks like it is over 300 words, probably not. If you bullet it, that will be better. But what you're saying is that do the research, let her know why you want to see this particular story on CBS.
Absolutely. And it makes it a little bit harder too, because sometimes I have to reach out to publicists and say like, hey, can you provide me a picture? Hey, can you tell me a little bit more about this? Hey, can I have the social media for this person? Like, this is work that you should be providing to me, because it's kind of a negative, it gives a negative vibe. Like, well, why am I doing this? Like like that's not my job. My job is to tell the story. Your job is to pitch it to me, but you're supposed to pitch it correctly. So yeah, that's been difficult as well. But I mean, it's also been a learning experience, like I've said, where I can actually tell, the person, hey, this is what I do. This is what I need from you. So in the future, let's make sure you send all that to me and I will get it up as quickly as I can. So
that is good. So tell us about the type of information. So say someone like Dr. Kimberly, I think she has like a story. She has like a long article I think that she wants to really pitch. Should she pitch the story, the article that she's written, or would you rather have how do you say, give the bullet points and then you write it? Or would you like the story whole, or would you like it in a press kit? And so we can kind of talk about press kits too as well, what their purpose are.
Honestly, I mean, it's a little bit of both, and it depends on the story. So when I say to people, less is not always more when it comes to pitching, because I need that valuable information. So absolutely do the bullet points. When I open an email, I do not want to have to scroll so far to where I'm like overwhelmed with content. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So definitely the who, the what, the where, the why. Did I say when, who, what, where, when, why? Yes. Okay. I was just making sure covered all my bases. Make sure you have photos included. Like I said, make sure you have links. Give a brief summary, maybe not even 5 sentences. If you can't tell me in less than a paragraph what this is about, you might want to go back to the drawing board. Right. You know that I'm trying to be super real and super
brevity is
transparent. You know, like I see a lot of information all day, every day. So it's like, you know, don't send so much in the pitch. But if you provide me with the necessary things that I need, like I said, the links, the pictures, because this is a digital world. Yes. We need engaging photos. Don't just send me a logo.
High resolution photos.
Yes. Don't just send me a logo, and you know, send me photos that can actually help the story, enhance the story. If you're sending a
B-roll
headshot, if you're sending a headshot, send other photos that can accompany the story. We usually only use headshots when someone has been named as like a vice president, if they've been, you know, given a promotion, XYZ. But if this is something about, you know, our organization, you should have photos of the community, you know, you giving back to the community. If you don't, that's the first thing that you need. Even if you send me videos, I can usually use those, or usually put those, embed them into the story. And as far as you said, like press kits, I call them the resume for your brand.
There you go. I love that.
They're literally the resume for your brand.
That.
Yeah, when you go to a job interview, what do? You give them your resume to tell them everything about you and what you've done thus far. It's the same thing with your electronic press kit. It should have everything in there: photos, background information, bio, why this is important, social media, who can I get in contact with. It should have all of that in one stop. So,
oh my goodness, make it what I call make it so idiot proof, so that whoever has it will have no questions. I don't have to ask any stupid questions.
Make it idiot proof. I love that. You have to coin that. That's good.
Oh, I say that all the time. Is it idiot proof? Because I'm telling you, there will be someone back there and says, well, what about? No, there's nothing you have to ask. There's nothing all in there.
Even still, that's something that I can link back to you. I always call it the circle of digital. You always want to keep somebody more interested in your story than clicking on something else. So if I keep giving them information that they can link to, if I give them for more information, click here, and it's your EPK. Then once you click to your EPK, please make sure that it's hyperlinked, because then people can go to your website. They can go to your social media. They can go to your podcast
video. Yes.
That's literally, it's a circle of digital. And then you never know what type of relationship that might form, or what type of business that might form for you.
So if people want to get in touch with you to do an EPK, we call it electronic press kit. We're in a digital world, so you do need one. It is a resume for your brand, according to Bria. How do they get that, and where do they go?
So they can go to my website, which is BriaBrownEnterprises.com. That's BRIA with an I,
Mhm.
brownenterprises.com. You can either go to the actual EPK by BBE page, or you can go to the contact page. But both of those have all the information that you need on there.
Cool, cool. I love it. I love it. So that is one of the main tools that you have. It just makes you
Mhm.
stand out from the rest when you actually
Mhm.
have those professional tools. And
Absolutely.
now, and then the websites. So the websites that you do for people, because if someone's going to pitch you for a story, one of the first things you're going to do is probably check them out, and then you look
Mhm.
at their website. And
Mhm.
so, because you've been seeing these websites that were looking a little shaky, you're now getting into the part where you help
I
people with their with their
I
website.
know. I thought I was done with learning things, but I'm forever a student. So I'm definitely learning how to do web development. I'm learning how to literally start from an idea and work out every kink to it's so much, even to coding, and it's just a world of knowledge. And it's something that I definitely think will be handy in the future for Bria Brown Enterprises, because I can not only offer you an EPK, but then all your branding is the same, because then they can go to your website.
Right.
And once they're done with your website, then they can go to your social media. Then you, like I said, it's the circle of digital. So
That's it.
yeah.
That's why I call that the Ready Set Go Speak system. So I have the
Mhm.
membership community that really sends people through the different phases. So the ready phase, just really understanding your brand. What is that
Mhm.
about? So if I were to say Bria Brown, I know what her brand is about. She sat still with
Mhm.
herself and understand what her brand is, what it is, how she wants to present it to the world. The set phase is really just more or less like really pulling together all of the materials, the writing, the websites, all the things you're setting. You're making sure that, so by the time you get to the go phase, when you are actually out there pitching, you have all your materials. If they say, I need a bio, I need a photo, I need a video, you got it. Okay, you don't have
Mhm.
to scramble. And then when it says ready, set, go, speak, now you're out there, you're actually doing your messaging, you're doing your sound bites, you're actually continually going on platforms and places and then that sort of thing. So it's just like, but the bulk of the time is really in that ready in the set phase,
It
because you
sure is.
understand what it is that you
Mhm.
want to communicate, and then pulling the materials together. And so
Yeah.
a part of a website that you're going to be doing is really the writing, which you probably did for the EPK anyway. So I can see how that goes hand in hand. It
But
really
a
is.
big piece to that too is, before you even do any of that, you have to know your why. You
Yes.
have to know your story, because if it doesn't make sense to you, trust me, it's not going to make sense to your audience. It's not going to make sense to people that you're trying to pitch. It's not going to make sense to anybody really. So you definitely have to know your story, and that's something that's, like I said, constantly evolving for me. Even now, working on my own brand and realizing that prior to now, because my website, while it's up, it's under construction, realizing that when I launched it, it was all about me. Yes, it was Bria Brown Enterprises, but it was all about me. I was the focal point. But now, after, like I've said, been doing research, been doing so many things, and just really seeing things with my own job, now I'm pushing forth, I'm your personal digital producer.
I love it.
Everyone has a story. Here's mine. You
Mhm.
know, I've worked in every part of the newsroom that you can think of. So therefore, I know what the news stations are looking for. I know what digital producers are looking for. I know what you need when you want to pitch something to a news station. Let me help you authentically tell your story. Do you know what your story is? If you don't know what your story is, you got to figure it out, because
Gotta
that's where
do
it
that.
starts. That's the
Mhm.
foundation. Your story is your foundation.
That is it. So the last question. So this was titled "How to Be a Disruptive Storyteller." So from your viewpoint, I guess you would say, how can someone be? Because it's such a noisy world. I mean, like we got
Especially now.
Clubhouse. Yeah, we got Clubhouse now. We have Instagram. We've got
Mhm.
Instagram video. You've got Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, it's just like so much. And then of
It
course
is.
there's continual. There's blogging. There's video blogging. There's Periscope. There's just so much. So how can someone be a disruptive storyteller and break through the noise so that they
Mhm.
are heard and seen and get out there?
Well, first and foremost, you should not be focused on the likes. I think that's where people
Woo! Say
focus
that.
on.
Mhm.
You definitely have to focus on your story, and people can tell originality, and they can tell authenticity from being fake. Don't try and be somebody else when you're telling your story or when you're making this persona on social media. Be yourself. Even with reporters, there is, I know everyone knows like a reporter voice.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that.
Like,
yeah, good evening.
like
Welcome
a
to
Walker voice.
Yeah, like don't try and be Rhonda Walker. Although she is amazing, she's a wonderful influence. Be yourself. Tell your own story. Like I said, do not focus on the likes. Someone sees it. Trust me. Just because they're not liking it doesn't mean that they don't see it. And a lot of times too, even for me, I know that I've found out that I've made the most impact on social media out of state. It's people that I don't even know that I've been able to connect to because of social media, because of my story, and business has come from that because they resonated with my story, because it was mine and because it was real. It wasn't Rhonda Walker's story. It wasn't Pam Perry's story. It wasn't whoever the newest influencer is story. Like, it was mine and I owned it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would definitely say do not focus on the likes. If you don't know what your story is, why do you do what you do? What makes you you? Why should people come to you instead of going to others? What can you provide to me that this person cannot? Yes, this is everyone is doing everything now, but you bring something different to the table. What is that difference?
What is your why? What is your purpose? And what does your brand stand for? How do you want to position it? Those are questions to really sit in what I call that ready phase before you try to launch out there to really understand what makes you unique. We used to call it your USP. What is your unique sales proposition?
Yeah,
and it really is, because it is something unique. You have your own finger imprint, and that's it. And once you know that, you can leverage that.
absolutely.
And it could be something that you think is like, oh my goodness, that's a terrible thing. I don't really want to reveal that. Well, the terrible thing that you think is like, you don't want to reveal could be the main thing that sets you apart. I'll give you an example of a client that her name was Bonnie St. John. And she lost her leg when she was a child. And so she had a what do you call it? Leg where it's a I can't think of the name.
Paraplegic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was like the one leg where she had, and she actually, but a lot of times when she speaks, she would wear a skirt, and she would not wear the leg that prosthetic. That's what it called. She would not wear the prosthetic. She would just have to come out without it. And people were like, oh my goodness, she doesn't have like the prosthetic. It's like I can really see it's like a metal part of her leg. And that was really what made her unique. And that is actually the thing that put her in O Magazine. The thing that maybe she wanted.
The thing that you be ashamed about is, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think people just need to focus on, like you said, building their digital footprint, because then people love to see growth.
Yes.
So if they see you started in 2016 to where you are now, everything doesn't have to be perfect. Just start.
Yes. Oh,
it's so cliche.
Like this podcast. Start the podcast.
You just started it. You may not have everything you need, but you have your purpose, and that's enough. You have your dream, and that's enough. You have the internet. That's enough.
When I did my first video podcast, and you see how we are right now, it's close-up phase. But we're both sitting back a little bit. And before, when I did it, our faces it was so close. It was like this.
That's what I'm saying.
And I couldn't figure out how to pull it back. But now I can. But that was growth, right?
Yeah, people love the growth. And that shows a testament to them. You never know who you're inspiring by just going.
Yeah.
So definitely just focus on your digital footprint. Just focus on your story. Focus on being authentic, and focus on resonating with your audience. That's all.
I love it. So Bria Brown, thank you for being a disruptive storyteller. That's what you do. That's what you have been doing your entire career. I can't wait to see what your next phase is going to be about.
Oh, it's going to be good, Pam. Don't worry.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. She started out in a big market at a big station. So she's going to be running things for sure. So you keep your eye on Bria J. Brown, okay? So with that, thank you so much. I know you got to get to your next story. So thank you so much for joining. Get out there, get known. Please like, share, and subscribe to us in iHeartRadio, in iTunes, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts. And we're even on YouTube. So if you want to see how cute Bria is, you can just check us out there as well. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Bria. And we will talk to you soon. God bless.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.